bit rate of 4,000. All right. Oh, I need to go to the live chat. I need to see if people can even hear or see anything. Oh, my audio's a bit low. Fuck. So I got video and audio issues. I may have to just use StreamYard. I'm not doing an actual live stream right now or anything. I'm planning to do one but I don't have a PC. I'm relegated to an Apple, which is giving me a migraine in OBS. At least I got Sig Nielsen here to keep me company, assuming he can hear me. If Disgraced Liberal can hear me, I think Sig Nielsen can hear me. This is a bloody mess trying to use OBS on Apple software. This is remarkably convoluted. This is just a test run. It's just an outtake. And apparently there's 3 people watching this. I'm like 50% of the way there. There's only a few things that need to be addressed for this to work. Like the audio is partially working, but OBS keeps feeding what's going into the microphone directly into my ears. So it's this uncanny, surreal thing. I'm talking, and it sounds like there's a twin who's saying the exact same thing I am at the same time. It's trippy. It's not supposed to be doing this. It's not how I calibrated the audio. I had the input and output set up a certain way. This is shot. Let's see. Yeah, Apple's sound menu within settings is very, very minimal. It's very few knobs that you can twiddle. In OBS, there's like a million different things you can do with the sound. Um, yeah, the way for the Max OS, like within settings, like the way everything is set up, like the way it reads, how that's calibrated is correct with the output and the input. But OBS is not, it's not doing it correctly. It's something is very wrong. I used OBS years ago on a PC running Windows 10, and it was a good software. The UI was, that was user friendly. There was no way to screw that up. But on Mac, this is such a nigger rig thing because even to get audio and video to work, you have to use a virtual driver. Yeah, if you sent me a DM, to my normal account, my flagship one, I won't be able to see that because that account is yet again struck. It is neutralized thanks to the band of goon ghouls who have a problem with me and other people I hang around. Does it make me sound like Marilyn Manson? If I had a lower voice, if I had some more gravel in my voice, yeah, it would sound like Marilyn Manson. The modern day Mac software is because I used a Mac. I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 years ago. Um, the OS back then was certainly better than what I'm looking at right now because I'm running what's it called, Sonoma. I'm running Sonoma 14, and I really don't care for this. Just all around, like the way CapCut and video editing and photo software, editing software runs on this, like it's just like it's like pulling teeth. It's just too different. Oh no, you can't hear me. You can probably hear me now. But now that you can hear me, I'm back to this weird echo thing. Or it sounds like I have a twin who's mimicking me in real time, 1 to 1. This is this is proving to be more difficult. Like I'd prefer to do this than use StreamYard, but StreamYard is a bit Like, I know it wouldn't be giving me this kind of trouble. StreamYard is just a website you go to rather than a software you download. It's never given me issues. It's a good thing I'm doing this now and not on the day of the live stream that I was going to do with someone. It's good that I'm taking time out of my day to piss around with the inner workings of live streaming in the modern day. Because live streaming today was it's not too similar to the way live streaming worked back in the day. Once upon a time. This is stupid how OBS just automatically gives your stream a name. Like you can't, it doesn't seem like you can customize it through OBS. You could do it through YouTube Studio, but you're supposed to begin the stream through OBS. Has the YouTube account connected already? I don't think anybody would be out of the 70 people subscribed to this channel. I don't think anybody would even be in this live chat. It's kind of funny. I assumed everybody was out waging, out collecting their shekels, MGTOW cowboy maxing. You're everywhere. Have you seen the film, what's it called? Anywhere, Everywhere, All at Once, something like that. Stars Michelle Yeoh. Came out like 4 years ago. It's an indie film. Has a creative premise. Has interesting ideas. Disgraced liberals, and as in the literal sense, they kind of are everywhere. Disgraced members of the neo left, scene. Those people are, in fact, all over the place. OBS even managed to fuck up this image, this placeholder of these black pills coming out of a stainless steel, um, I don't know, thing that's it's kind of like a funnel or a drain of some kind. It's like a medical stock photo image. Um, this is clipped and cropped to hell and back. OBS did this ridiculous hard zoom in on the image. Like it's way bigger than what how it appears here on the screen. So don't let this deceive you. The actual image, the original, is way more interesting than this. Even though this is not a bad macro shot. It's not a bad close up, but the entire image is much more compelling. Overheard telling Ching Chong jokes. I've heard a few Asian jokes, but they weren't that funny. They're kind of cute. They're not great, you know. Like one of them was like, how did Chinese people name their children? Drop silverware on the floor. Ching chong, bing bong, ching chong. I think the funniest racist joke I ever heard is not that great of a joke. It really isn't. It's very lowbrow, but it's so absurd and silly and just cartoonishly mean spirited to the point that it actually becomes funny. And I heard this when I lived in the South. I used to live in Texas, and I think I was in, I don't know. I think I may have been in Woodlands, Texas. And there's this very old, like Vietnam vet type guy. You know, he wasn't all there mentally. Um, but then he's like, hey. He had like an extremely thick Southern accent. I could try to imitate it. He's like, hey, boy, you want to hear a joke? And I was like 14 at the time. And I said, sure. Yeah, let's hear a joke. And he's like, all right, it's a racist joke, so just be prepared. I'm warning you. And I said, yeah, that's I don't really care. And he goes, all right, here it goes. Did you hear about the baby nigger that died? And I said, no. And he said, well, God gave him in his wings, and he said, look, God, I'm an angel. And God said, no, you stupid nigger, you're a bat. Now fuck off. I hope dropping the word doesn't get this channel in more trouble. I already got a strike. They revoked this channel for 30 days. I don't know how fast and skilled the bots are. Because so far I've said the word 3 times and I haven't been streaming for very long. This is a throwaway outtake. This is not a real stream. Like people are showing up for this. Thomas White, the man himself, Night Monkey, Sig Nielsen. I hope you guys aren't expecting a show because this is an outtake. This is a test run. I'm supposed to do a real stream with someone in the near future, and I'm learning very quickly that trying to do this is not going to work on OBS. So I'll either just record the conversation and then post it later, or I'll just go to StreamYard through a browser. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this going. I've dicked around with OBS enough to get lost in the weeds, and I'm too much of a noob to actually dig into this and like diagnose. I may have to just use an AI assistant like a Norm Fag. Normally, I like doing this just by myself. Like if software is new to me, I like to go into settings and see all the things that you can manipulate. You saw a groid that resembled a toad. I mean, so have I. I've seen various groids that look so similar to non-human animals. Um, like I've seen Shibuns that look just absolutely simian. I've seen other groids that look like you said, a toad. Like they're just uncanny so much of the time. Thomas White showing up for this is something I did not expect. I assumed that you were golfing on a day like this. I mean, it's a summer day in Minnesota. It's probably very very nice outside. If I was you, I would be golfing. I'd be taking the roasty out and hitting, putting some golf balls. It's not even that hot where I am, and I'm in a fucking desert. It's only like 89 degrees and it's very breezy. The only thing that is working well within OBS is the bit rate. It's consistently above 4,000. No frame rate dropping. Aside from that, this is a bloody mess. It's humid where you're at, Sig. Um, you probably don't want to dox yourself, but are you in the South or Midwest? Are you in one of those two regions? It's too hot for golf. Is is Minnesota getting is it getting a heat wave? I'll look this up. Let's go to AccuWeather. I love this website. It's it's far more realistic and has good analytics and breakdowns. I'm going to look up St. Paul for, I don't know, just simplicity's sake. It's 92 degrees in St. Paul, Minnesota. The wind is about 5 miles an hour, 3 to 5. I mean, 92 isn't that hot. It's very warm, but it's not unbearable. Midwest, but it's as hot as Georgia. I mean, you could be in Missouri or Illinois. You're probably not in Michigan, but I don't know. Michigan normally isn't going to get that hot, especially up north, northern half of the state. Same with Minnesota. Duluth doesn't get as hot as the Twin City region. You know what I hate about YouTube? And I think I hate this even more than the Gestapo deplatforming anti based punish wrong think bullshit. I think the thing I hate most about this platform is the way I get bombarded with videos on the right hand column that I have no interest in ever watching. Uh, I don't give a fuck about 99% of what YouTube thinks I want to watch or thinks is important. It's a deliberately bad algorithm. Yeah, it misdelivers posts and it yeets them in seconds. Definitely. There's been all these times where I'll have duplicates of the same comment and I look like a fucking retard. I look like an autist that's spamming the person. All thanks to this shitty platform. Sig, you're probably old enough to remember, because I think you're older than me, and I'm about to be 31. But I'm sure that you remember what YouTube was like in 2005, 2006, 2008, before Google bought them. It's a completely different place, just in every aspect. Electrolyte tablets, like the ones that you put in the water, and they're very fizzy, and they turn the water into sparkling water, basically. Like it's better to drink that than just plain uh municipal water. 6 to 12 hour bans on YouTube. You get banned on YouTube, like you don't have the ability to post or comment. By the way, Sig, Celtic Cat really does want you in his server. But really, I mean, we all want you in that server. You know, it's all the cool people. It's Celtic Cat, it's me, it's Hudson, Collector Dismal, Thomas White's technically in it. Yeah, we have a lot of good people. We got English Times. Jackknife, who was a caller on the Thomas White show. We have a whole host of chuds. Discord's not up for everyone though. Like I understand that it's not it's not going to be the older crowd's cup of tea. Like Discord is just a very feral place, and it's full of just all these like very immature morons and just a lot of degenerates. There's a lot like they don't call it Troon Cord for nothing, you know, like there are lots of Troons, there's lots of sycophant type kids who don't really know anything about the world. It's very depraved. To make Discord viable, it's not easy. You gotta dig through a pile of shit, find people that are worthwhile, and then branch off and have a very under lock and key server. That's the only way to make it a platform that you use regularly and have it work for you in return. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this going. I'm not even looking at OBS at this point. I'm doing other things. I'm on this ridiculous computer. Would just be using my HP, which is a laptop, but it's out of commission. For the six people listening to this, or five, like in the near future, I am supposed to do a live stream, or I'll simply post a conversation between me and someone else, and we're going to be discussing, reviewing The 1987 film Pathfinder. It's very underrated. Yeah, it's just going to be me and English Times talking about that. He recently watched the film for the first time, and he was pretty jazzed up by it. I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times. I discovered it not that long ago. I was familiar with the Hollywood remake in 2007. I of course saw that one first, not knowing that it was in fact a remake. There were actual chuds in that flick. Yeah, there are. Yeah, it's they're shooting on location. I mean, the locations are amazing. Can you imagine being that director like that, working on that crew? You have to haul all that equipment out into the remote, regions of Scandinavia. Get all that footage, get all that coverage. Wouldn't have been easy. Would have been a demanding task. Kind of like what they did in Lawrence of Arabia. Like the heat was so oppressive where they were filming uh, that it forced them to do reshoots. Their assets, that celluloid, it decayed too quickly because of the heat. So when you watch that film, I mean, you are watching like these off the cuff, like, oh shit, we got to reshoot this sequence, bits and pieces. It's a little, like toothpicks and glues and glue, in some spots, but you can't really tell. Lawrence of Arabia holds up very, very well. Another great thing about Pathfinder is the casting, the costumes, the fact that it's in the Sami language. I mean, that's dedication right there. It's a little like what Mel Gibson did in Passion of the Christ. Like initially, Passion of the Christ was going to be an English language film, but apparently he was against that, and he said, no, no, it needs to be in like as old of Hebrew as we can get it. Let's make it as region accurate as possible. I mean, it's if you're going to make a historical film and you want it to be like very immersive, I feel like that is warranted. You need to be a pedantic artist about accents, the language, and obviously costumes. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you get like a general idea of how people communicated and the clothes that they were wearing and uh, the demographic situation, depending on the country. I think that's all very important. It's all practical. It just makes sense. If you like, if you're making a serious film, if you're making a try hard, if you're really aiming for the stars, then yeah, you probably should do that. Am I saying I don't? Well, I'm going to watch the Odyssey, not because I think it's very good. I'll be pirating it. I'm not going to pay to watch Odyssey, but I'm still interested in seeing what's there. Um, it's the same thing with Obsession. Obsession had all this hype and attention given to it, and I just remember reading like the general outline of the story and thinking that's not terribly interesting. It's not awfully original, but I'll still watch it, which I did. It's a competently made little movie. It has strange acting choices from the lead actress. It's a little like I don't know. It's a little like David Lynch in spots. It's a little like Jordan Peele's films. Like if you saw Get Out, it has a bit of a similar atmosphere and way of being scary, or like a thriller. Obsession is culturally relevant. I mean, I suppose if it came out in 2009 or 2012, it wouldn't have gotten much attention. It would have been a throwaway B film that people didn't really talk about because of the time, the social scene where it was released into the public. That obviously had something to do with people hyping it up. Is this real? This is not a real live stream. Uh, this was a test run to see if OBS on Mac, using a virtual driver through Black Hole, would actually allow me to stream. Technically, it's working. I am streaming, but it's not like there's too many issues with the audio and the picture. Like I can't even get like webcam, what's on the desktop. Like it does not read that. So OBS is fucked. Like this isn't going to work. The only reason I'm on a Mac is because my PC is it's out of order. I have an HP. It's a laptop, and that's been my workstation for almost 2 years. Oh, it's been about it's a year and a half of me using the HP as a workstation. But it has overheating, it has fan issues. It's got like three major problems. I may be a max cell right now, but it is I'm I'm an in max cell, you fuck. I'm involuntarily a max cell. I don't want to be on a Mac. Jesus. You don't use OBS? Is that what you meant to say, Thomas? Well, I could just use StreamYard. I could just go through a browser and set it up. Send my partner in crime the link, and then we would be talking about the film here on YouTube. It would work. I know that won't give me any problems. It's an option. People who use Linux, they tell me that it's better. It's better than just using a normal out-of-the-box Windows OS or using Mac. But apparently Linux has a learning curve. I don't know if it's friendly to people like me. Like I'm not a boomer with this stuff. I know a bit about some softwares and I've dipped my toes in both worlds, Apple and its competitor. I'm not an outright boomer, but I'm definitely not a whiz kid with this stuff. Like the OBS issues going on right now. I'm sure that there is a solution to it, but it would require someone that's like a pro, which I am not. Misanthropist, we haven't spoken in some weeks. What's new with you? How's the weather over there? Have you been gorging on wop slop? Have you been hitting the pizza, or have you been staying on the righteous path of muscle meat, organs, raw blood, the occasional bit of fruit? What's new with you, Bucko? What are we doing here? What are we doing here, Bucko? Figure it out. I need to figure out OBS, Bucko. I can't imitate him very well. I can't do that Canuck, semi-Canuck accent that Thomas has. Fermented cream. Oh, fermented cream is great. I had some fermented cream. I had it in a jar a couple days ago. Uh, I I so it was fermented cream from Jersey cows. It was local. It was from a place that's like 45 minutes away, and it was packaged with like cranberries or something, and it was, even though it was sour, it was really good. I drank the whole fucking thing by the end of the day. I didn't eat any food. Well, except for like a little bit of pork, but I was sipping on that cream throughout the entire day. It was too damn good. Too addicted playing Mountain Blade, but Jesus, it's over. It, it really is over. If you're too debilitated by Vidya to even be on Discord, it didn't even begin. I mean, it's like there wasn't a beginning. It was dead in the water. Macs become PCs at this point. They have USB char. Yeah, I wish Macs were on par with PCs, but they're not even close. This Mac that I do have, it's got three different types of USB ports. It's got two different display ports. Port wise, this is not a bad machine. In just about every other category, though, uh, it's overpriced. Pseudo Kino. I've noticed that people who really like Max, they tend to be normies, sure, but it's a very specific type of person that I'm thinking of. I noticed that lots of people who work in like offices, but they're not software developers. They seem to like Macs. Receptionist Foids seem to really like Macs. I've noticed a bunch of guys in the medical field and lawyers. A lot of these people, their portable computer is a MacBook. And they don't push the machine anywhere outside of email, web browsing, maybe using Zoom, uh, simple music shit through Apple. Apple has a subscription now. It's a very specific crowd that is pro Mac. PC Master Race was right all along. Like that's actually the truth. Overlord Trump is. Look at all these people in this fucking chat. I think this is not a real stream. This is a throwaway. This is me dicking around. It's not working very well, but at least you can hear me and I can see what you're typing. Overlord Trump is he mogs me. He mogs me in terms of knowing about like software and like how these machines work. I may just ask him to diagnose this. Macs are for soy normies. Like I'll agree with that. This Mac that I'm on is basically a hand-me-down. Like the person didn't want it, and I didn't really care at the time. I said, yeah, sure, I could, in theory, use this as a backup if I have to. Unfortunately, that day has come, and here I am using it as a backup. I'd need to replace my real computer at some point. I'd rather not dump shekels into repairing whatever is wrong with it. Um, I definitely don't want to get. I don't want to get a Dell. I don't want to get an Acer. I don't want to get an Alienware. Those are shit for the price. They are shit. They're not good for the price range. And I'm not going to get an HP. It's, I've owned two HPs, and build quality is mediocre. They don't really last that long. They are better than Dell and Acer. but they're definitely not top tier. If we're talking about options that are at the store at Best Buy, which I'm growing to hate Best Buy each time I buy stuff from there or wander around in that store. The Best Buy that is, speaking of Best Buy, the one that is closest to me, which is like downtown SLC. I went into that place some weeks ago. There was not a single white person working there, and that's not an exaggeration. Not one. There wasn't even a white Floyd or a white boomer Floyd or anything like that. There's no white people working there. Some of the people shopping there were these Goy cattle, Gen Xer, boomer types. These people who probably do not have an IQ higher than 85. Like it was borderline picturesque. Like I'm looking at all the people in the Best Buy in Geek Squad uniforms. Like you got a bunch of Mexicans, and you got like a couple Jeets. You got an Asian boy. You got like this random black guy who looked like he was a manager. A Polynesian guy putting orders together. But then the customer base are these despicable members of previous generations. If they had a brain in their skull, on these outings, these leisurely outings where they just buy random shit they don't need. They eat fast food. They watch sports ball. Like if they had an IQ higher than 85, surely they would notice that their kind is being replaced, and that would freak them out. But no, these people think that nothing's wrong. Uh, Man, I have all these heavy hitters showing up for this fucking pissant throwaway bullshit stream. Thomas White, English Times, Collective Dismal, goddamn Mount Rushmore of the Black Pill. This is not a serious stream, by the way, Dismal. This is testing 1 2 3 sort of situation, and now it's turned into a dialogue between me and the live chat. You have an HP Victus. Well, what are the stats? I'll look it up because I'm already on the computer anyways. I want to see the specs on this. Just what does it come with out of the box? It's got an i7, RTX 3050, up to 4070. That's quite good. 16 gigs of RAM. I'd prefer more, but 16 will do. Kind of need 32 for editing For editing 4K footage, you do need more than 16 gigs of RAM. If you're to edit at a reasonable pace, without any lagging, without any freezing, any clipping. But it looks like a good laptop. I think that should suffice. The only thing it's lacking in is the RAM, but you can always add RAM. Holding off on buying computer parts because of the AI bubble. I didn't realize that there was a correlation between those two things. You think the AI bubble popping would lead to computer parts, the prices going down? That's it. Like why? Can you? I'm not even saying that you're wrong. Can you provide a summary as to why it works that way, Mr. Trump, Mr. 420, Mr. Stoner? Sure. Adobe After Effects. I don't care for using Adobe. I think that's a bit of a soy normie editing software for video, but it's decent. It still suffices. I would prefer to use, in many cases, the paid version of CapCut, the desktop version, not the mobile version. For lots of different projects, that works for me. But so does Sony Vegas Pro. That's a nice big boy editor. Uh, Next time I share that sentiments, Hudson. The last computer I paid for, I did not pay a lot for. That was a mistake on my part. CapCut's on the same playing field as Adobe. I mean, if we're going to be technical about this in terms of what the two really offer in terms of like firepower and creative control, Adobe is really it is better. Um, but I don't really love I don't love the outfit uh, the outlay of it. I don't really care for the presets. I like the way CapCut looks. You know I was using that before I experimented with Adobe, so I have that bias. I have that preference for short form video for anything that's like an hour or under. Really, I would prefer CapCut. For long form stuff, you really shouldn't be using CapCut. You should use Adobe and Sony Vegas and I suppose Final Cut. There's also DaVinci Resolve that has a learning curve, though. It's not easy to figure everything out, how to maximize it. We have a ridiculous amount of people in here. Well, race did come up earlier, Celtic Cat, and Sig Nielsen can confirm that. You know, he brought up the notion of racist jokes that are aimed at Asians, and I responded saying that they're really not that funny, and that racist jokes that are funny are usually aimed at groids. and then I presented what, in my opinion, I think is the funniest Groyd joke I've ever heard. Don't get the same graphics effects creation ability. Yeah, specifically, like if we're yeah, if you're looking at that that kind of workflow, then yeah, CapCut is not very good. However, CapCut still works with log footage. Uh, the HSL color wheel in CapCut is pretty accurate. Very easy to fix flickering and chromatic aberration. Uh, some of the even though using filters for video that you shot is kind of tacky and lazy. There are instances where I actually do like using some of the preset filters in Cap because they are nice. They don't fuck up the image. Like there's not too much saturation or clipping of the highlights or anything like that. It tends to blend pretty well with most footage. Not every filter they have is like that. The paid for ones are the ones I'm referring to, the ones that are good. Like if you want a retro, you want like something like cigarette burns, grain that looks organic, duotone, experimental stuff. Those are nice presets and nice filters. Yeah, this isn't really a serious stream, Celtic Cat. I assumed that OBS, because I started this stream through OBS, that it would allow me to customize the title, determine if this would be private or public, and it didn't give me any of those options. It just put together this generic title that says Access Mail live stream, and it made it public. How old is this Mac? Oh, this is not an old MacBook. So this isn't even a MacBook. This is an Apple M1. It's running Sonoma 14.6. This was manufactured in about 2020. So it's not ancient. Um, it's not ancient by any means. It's not state of the art either. I'd be frightened to see the latest MacBooks that Apple has turned out. It's got 16 gigs. At least there's that. It's not all doom and gloom. It's a tolerable software. That's about as much credit I can give it. Now that you mentioned Disgraced Liberal, I've actually heard of that program before. I've not used it. Apparently they have a version for Apple and Linux. Fuck it, I'm actually downloading that right now. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. When will we review Pathfinder? Soon, very very soon. He told me, I think the day before yesterday, he told me about when he's available, and I happen to be available when he's also available, so the stars have aligned. And now we just need to pick a day. But I need to make sure that this works within reason. Which I'm either going to use StreamYard or a competitor of OBS's. Overlord Trump. I tried to hold on to it for as long as you could talk. I mean, that's saying a lot coming from you. You're more well versed in this, in the subject than I am, and you said Max are for soy normies, which is like true. Like that's a real correlation. But you're saying I should hang on to it, which I agree with because I got it for free. I got it for free, and I can still do things. I use FrostWire. I have a bunch of tabs open. I still do things on this device. Because why not? Only film reviews? Oh, probably not. I do intend. It's going to take a lot of work to do this correctly, but I do intend to make a video essay that's very reminiscent of what Insomatics did back in 2020. Except for it won't be as long. It won't be 2 hours. I don't think it will run for longer than 30 or 45 minutes. But my intention for that video essay is there's a lot to cover, and I mean a lot. So it's going to be very punchy, it's going to be very fast. You need to pay attention to actually learn anything from it. It's really supposed to be a retrospective, uh, but also like contemplating like the future sort of monologue. Like I would like to cover the beginning of the label black pill and where it came from and like what the people who first claimed it and used it, like what they were discussing and how it got stolen and hijacked by non-white looks maxing curmudgeons that lived on 4chan, and many of them were also on Reddit. They were using r/incels and r/brain cells. These people took the the word black pill and they sullied it into a Chad theory, like lookism theory, uh, bit of distinguishment from the rest of the manosphere. I need to like the video needs to cover that because not enough people like understand where this term like how it was born and what the social context was and the people on that obscure forum what they were talking about, and because it wasn't lookism, like they were talking about more important things, and they were using the term black pill as a means to distinguish themselves from the red pill at the time, because in 2010 2011 red pill was already done for, dead in the water. It was already full of grifters. It's already ruined. I mean, the integrity was gone completely. It's full of PUAs and grifters. It's full of gynocentric men. Red Pill was done as early as the very early 2010s. That's what these guys who seem to have developed the name Black Pill. It's like based on the screenshots of the forum that I saw years ago, it looked like they understood that very clearly. But I'm getting off track here. Yeah, so the future for this channel, like at some point, there is going to be hopefully a proper video essay that's pretty high caliber. But I not only do I need to put it like get in writing everything that needs to be said, all the arguments, which is hard for me to do because I'm not a good writer. Like writing, putting together monologues is not something I can do very well. So trying to put together a 30, 45 minute monologue is going to take a long time if it's going to be good. Not only do I need to do that, I need to hunt down so many different clips, assets, pieces of footage, photographs, things I need to communicate visually to the people watching this. Like they need to understand like what I'm referring to when I'm talking about certain events that I won't go into detail in this live stream. Something to do with a HAPA in California, something to do with a guy driving a van in Toronto, Canada, if you're catching my drift, amongst other things. All of this is relevant. Another thing I would need co-collaboration. Like I need people to narrate it. So I would want a range of people narrating different chapters, different scenes. Like I'd want Claire Kaw. I would want pre- preferably Thomas White narrating a bit of it. I would want Dismal to narrate a bit of it. Preferably, I'd want someone like First, but he's not available, so I don't think that'll happen. It'd be nice if Western Decline could narrate a portion of it that has to do with um, more the like the familial, personal, communal part of the incel equation. I want him to narrate that just because it's so appropriate. Like his background, his story, why he is where he is today. Like it very much comes from that kind of circumstance. Seldom, like if your family and your community, like what is so local to you, is making you an incel, then like demographics and government policies aside, like if your family and your community is disenfranchising you intentionally, they're making you an incel and they're preventing you from ascending the way they prevented Western Decline from ascending. Um, this is just yet another facet of how men are hated and how everything is gynocentric and how there is in fact an anti-life agenda. They don't want reproduction, especially from the white boy. They definitely don't want that. It is a conspiracy by definition. Oh, I'd also want Hudson to. I, I'd want Hudson to narrate a chapter, and I'd probably want Jackknife to narrate another chapter. Like the more I'd like to have an ensemble cast of all these voices. Jackknife has a good reading voice, and so does Hudson. When Hudson's talking in general, whether that's with people on Discord or it's for one of his monologues on YouTube. I don't know if it's intentional or what, but Hudson does sound very cerebral and um, academic and serious and focused and stoic. You know, like hearing him, it's like I'm listening to fucking Spock. But no, that's a good thing though. I would want somebody with that has that like that kind of tone of voice, that vocal demeanor. I would want someone to narrate part of the video essay. Hudson, Jackknife, Desmond, Western Decline, if he'll do it. What first? Thomas, like that Claire Ka, like that's a strong lineup. That is a giga atomic black pill. Um, that would just elevate the production value considerably. Using that instead of using my voice. I don't think my voice is going to suit the subject matter terribly well. I need people who have a certain quality to them. I need people that sound like people. You know, they sound like they've been weathered by life. They sound like they have real world experience. You know, that's they don't have a generic voice. They don't have a fake sounding voice or a performative sounding voice. That's what I need, and that's a really good range of like emotional tones. Claire Kaw has like a very mystical, other world, larger than life, mysterious kind of voice, like a great, storyteller voice. Whereas Thomas and Jackknife and Dismal, they sound like real people. It's hard to describe what I'm talking about. It probably doesn't make any fucking sense to people who are listening to this. But like voice physiognomy is a real thing, and you can tell how mentally old someone is or how experienced they are, how jaded they are by their voice. That was a long tangent, but that it needed to be long because I'm talking about a pet project that I've had in my mind for a long time. I've and I've gone back and forth so many times on what it should be. Like at one point, I was gonna have it be I was going to have it be more like a traditional documentary combined with POV footage to demonstrate the demographic situation between the sexes and with race. And then I scrapped that idea. I was like, I don't know. It's that it may be too much work for its own good. Like I may be able to communicate that message, make those arguments just as powerfully, even without making an actual documentary and having tons of POV footage. It requires a whole new level of energy to go out and capture that by yourself. The more efficient alternative, though, is what I would like to do at this point. What I have in mind now, which is to play historian a little bit, but then also attempt to bring to the forefront the correct definitions to terms like black pill, Chad. But I also would need to be talking about why would normies adopt these terms? Why would they use them in real life and in non-black pill spaces? Like, what does that really mean? What does it indicate? So yeah, like I said earlier, lots of ground to cover in one video. I mean, individually, that would be probably dozens of defined points to make, dozens of specific observations, and then assertions based on said observations. Both distorted and accepted by the normie. Normies really aren't for shit when it comes to real acceptance. In my view, they're just fence sitters. The fact that it's become mainstream to complain about dating and complain about women's behavior, but the way normies do it is it's very it's very lukewarm. Uh, Whereas guys like you and I, like we are much more. Uh, we're not we're not extreme, but compared to a normie, the outsider looking in is going to see us as extreme, even though we're not really extreme. We're actually quite reasonable. We're not asking for things that are extreme. This will be an impressive feat. I intend for it to be. I want it to be impressive. I want it to be very cinematic and stark. It needs to be commanding. Uh, it needs to challenge people. And it needs to emotionally put pressure on them. It is supposed to be a persuasive tool because even though uh, it is a in concept, it is a video essay for people who are pretty well versed within these topics that have been banged on about for years. At the same time, I am going to structure it, edit it, write it for the uninitiated. So I need people who really don't know anything about this stuff to be able to watch this, but by the end they need to understand up and down what I'm actually saying. They need to understand what the external factors that are plaguing recent generations are. They need to grasp that concept. I think visuals, good narration, tightly wound arguments could probably do the job. Like the moving image has this uncanny emotional psychological effect, like when you apply it a certain way. Even to a person that's diametrically opposed to you ideologically. I think if you really know what you're doing, you can perhaps on a subconscious level persuade them. But preferably, I would want it to be above subconscious. I would want them to uh, realize like where we are at in this point in time, and grasp the disparity between generations, not just in terms of the economic niceties, but just like what was afforded to boomers and Gen Xers socially. Like what government was like, university, how much it cost, what it was like to actually attend university, what it was like to actually be a blue collar, worker, a menial wagey back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like none of these people are going to grasp how all that's changed drastically. that wouldn't really be the focus of the video. I don't think. It's more focused on the incel question, rates of inceldom, male disenfranchisement, how race factors into that. Like what the dating market truly is. How does it work? Highlighting how dysfunctional it is. That needs to be really the most of the screen time. I feel would be dedicated to that. But what's so discombobulating about talking about these things is how it's just so intertwined. Everything is it's like a rat's nest, or it's kind of like you've seen those magician gimmicks where a very small glass or very, very small object of some kind, like the magician will pull out a seemingly never ending, very colorful, dimensioned piece of cloth or fabric. That's that's what this that's what this fucking black pill shit is. Like you start with the WQ, you start with your own problems, you try to understand why it doesn't work for you or where it went wrong, and actually you find a bundle of other things that are also equally wrong, if not more fucked up. And that's the race question, that's the JQ, that's getting into conspiracy theorist territories, which they're not even really theories anymore, they are outright proven. Um, you're getting into things like philosophy, you're getting into anthropology, you're getting into ethics, you're getting into government, you're getting into technology. Uh, an intellectually honest person is going to be forced to acknowledge these things. It's unavoidable. I need a with such a reduced population, even just a 5% increase in homos and race mixing. Yeah, definitely. Even something that low, even 5%, if you had specifically those two groups, like people are homo or bisexual, asexual, like whatever, they're just not they're not hetero, and then people committing race mixing. If it's yeah, even something as low as 5% is doing is doing noticeable damage. Like you would not require a social science paper to see that play out in real time. Like if you're paying attention, like something as seemingly minute as 5%, you will see and feel that. Greater knowledge, more knowledge might make them more malicious. That is possible. Um, I suspect that it would make some of them will be malicious, some of them will just be very defeated and depressed. Others will be angry, but they won't know what to do about it. Others will possibly commit suicide. Um, However, what these people do with themselves is not my that's none of my business, and that's not within my wheelhouse. I'm not telling anyone to do X, Y, or Z, um, but I will make arguments to defend, like what I say. I'm one of the most basic ones, like if someone were to contest me and say everything that comes out of the black pill is false, I think my immediate response to that would be, if it's false and it's not happening, then why are a bunch of males congregating on the internet complaining about the same thing? Duh. The symptom proves the illness. The fact that we have the manosphere, we have the black, the fact that all this happened, it proves immediately. Oh, wait a second. There's all these damaged, ejected men who can't do anything in real life about it, so they meet each other online to bitch and moan, which is fine. Like, you should be bitching and moaning. You should be complaining. Not complaining, not acknowledging injustice is not a virtue. Refusing to acknowledge injustice is cucked. Presenting the case for reality. Oh, I mean, ultimately, yeah. I understand that the word reality can be, people can bend that a bit. They can begin making arguments that have varying level of varying levels of like credibility behind them. Like, for example, like uh, these, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, the various tribes around the world that are uncontacted. I'm sure that they have some kind of a religious belief or a worldview that is objectively untrue. Like, we could probably prove that it's not true. But because they all agree upon it and they spend their lives never being corrected, that begs the question that, well, does that belief of theirs, does that make it valid? Does that make it true? Like, is their reality, is their understanding of it, their relationship with it really equal to yours? Well, no. Theirs may be lacking, in facts and understanding, compared to yours. However, these people never realize that. They may not have the capability to realize that. They may be genetically, neurologically prevented from seeing and interpreting things like the way you do, Jackknife. It's the way I do it too. Like, uh, you're a white guy, I'm a white guy. Like, we are so, there's such a contrast between someone like you or me, compared to a member of an undiscovered tribe in the Amazon or something. Like, I don't need to explain that. But when people use the word reality, like, it can it can it can get very messy. It can get like just too technical. Like, it can derail the discourse, because the opponent can then say, well, um, what even is reality? Or they can talk about truth. Um, they can beg the question of, well, what even is truth? All the shit that you believe in, it may only be partially true, but you still, like, there's aspects of it that are false. Therefore, why should we listen to you? Asking the question, what is truth? Where is truth? Why is truth? How is truth? What is the different? How far away is truth from things that aren't true? Like, it's not an easy question to answer necessarily. Looking away and refusing to acknowledge things is how we got. Yeah, yeah. not paying attention, self-deceiving, looking away, refusing to admit that there is a problem, which, in my view, all of that is a form of cowardice, and I deem it to be unacceptable. It's one thing to, for like, let's say the boomers and the Gen Xers, not too long ago, like let's say that they began publicly acknowledging the problems. Um, I wouldn't have nearly as much venom for them as I do because they would be publicly admitting it. There wouldn't be this ridiculous game being played where they're playing dumb and lying to younger people, making false promises. That's uh, that's what's unforgivable. With the video essay, though, in terms of tone, I don't think it can be too preachy or too didactic. Like I'd like to avoid beating the viewer over the head. It can't be that rough. Like it needs to be critical, but it needs to feel very impartial and neutral. It needs to come off as relatively scientific, like it's coming from a third party. And really, there's a lot of criticism to hand out. I mean, you can criticize boomers and Gen Xers. You can criticize uh, law enforcement, both police and then the courts. Both of those groups are deserving of very harsh criticism. Ronald Reagan is deserving of a lot of criticism. He and his wife are largely responsible for family law in the United States becoming overly gynocentric at baseline. Um, you can criticize Rockefeller, who wanted women to be in the workforce. He wanted women to go to university. He wanted women to become part of the tax base. He saw feminism as a wonderful thing because it would make him more money, him and his compatriots. And then looking at another group to criticize is women themselves, specifically women born after a certain certain year. I mean, this isn't all their fault technically, and but they are dumping a bunch of gasoline onto the fire. The way they comport themselves, the treachery, the betrayal, the racial betrayal, no regard for their peers. Um, the way they just outright disrespect men. They view men as, including Chads, including powerful men, handsome men, tall men, even men like that. Women still view them as marks. They view them as stepping stools, ATMs, shiny little trinkets. '80s right and feminist friendly capitalism. Yeah, yeah, that's feminist friendly capitalism. That's a truth nuke. That's an underrated talking point. Feminist friendly capitalism. Yeah, it's absolute poison. I actually had Manipulated Man. I had the book in PDF format. I was reading a fair amount of it. I'm not sure if Esther Viller was what she was doing. I don't know if she was a grifter, but my senses tell me that she was not. She was writing a cutting book for the time, very ahead of the curve. If men en masse had been reading it and taken it to heart, perhaps they would have, uh, maybe it would have sounded the alarms, and men would have said, yeah, I don't agree with this subtle, slippery slope of what's going on with women. So we need to can this bullshit before it goes, like before we lose control of it. I feel like men at the time in the 70s, if they had read The Manipulated Man, they would have been compelled to just not be the least bit tolerant of that wave of feminism at the time. So a lot of people don't understand that in the late 60s and the 70s, feminism was definitely real in the United States, within the workforce, within even within the Hollywood system. You definitely had, it wasn't out of control. It was still male dominated, but you certainly had a few instances of the boss bitch archetype, basically as early as 1970 something. More pronounced by the 1980s and 1990s for sure. Grew at an exponential rate. If we're specifically looking at the filmmaking world within the United States, and how the boss bitch nonsense, that the that archetype of woman was getting steady work within that field. Creeped in very slowly. Capitalism has to be both feminist and non-friendly. That's in my opinion, like capitalism has that inevitable endpoint. Yeah, it's going to lead to it being way too partial towards groups that don't really need that. It's not practical. That's working against the interests of white civilization. It's fucking things up. Doesn't make any sense. If you're if you're a race conscious white guy, there's but you're also one of these cringe conservative idiots who think that capitalism uh, is just like it's always good, it's always ethical, it's always fair, it's always going to produce a net positive. Like if that's really where you stand, like I kind of see you as a walking contradiction. Like if you're a white guy and you are race conscious and like you care about your bloodline and you care about where you live and you take issue with the immigration and the race mixing, but you also think that capitalism is just dandy, well then you're a fool. You're illiterate. Capitalism has created the very problems that you're concerned with. So logically, you would have to despise the economic arrangement that derails what you want and prevents you from getting what you need, prevents you from having a white void or being able to have a family comfortably. have your own property, have a house, have private property, and be able to start a family like within a comfortable venue. I'm not saying that you can't start a family if you don't have your own place. That's technically not true because Spics do that all the time, and so do Jeets. But we understand that it is probably optimal for everyone involved, for you, your wife, your kids, for you guys to have your own space. It doesn't need to be a lot of space. It doesn't need to be a McMansion, but having your own backyard, your own house tied to your own immediate nuclear family, there's something that is just very, very healthy about that. And if government cared about these things, they would simply enforce generational trade-offs. Boomers would be forced. Their assets and money and property would be seized and given to people my age and younger. And then you would have enforced monogamy. Women would have no autonomy, no choice in who their partners are. And the majority of men would not have a choice either. Figuring out who needs to be paired up with who is a decision that needs to be made very carefully by people with the most veracity and the utmost judgment. So, kind of like what Daggs talks about, this concept of an enlightened aristocracy, a group of, something like what you see in the Star Wars prequels with the Jedi Council, or the Knights of the Round Table. You need a group of enlightened, probably, elder types of the community, of the race, of the clan who need to decide who's going to reproduce with who, because it's one of the most political things in life is who is having sex with who and who's reproducing. That is probably the most political thing in the world. Therefore, it's a priority. And if it's a priority, then you need to allot a lot of discernment to making those decisions. It's obvious women can't do it. We've learned our lesson there. Women are too fucking stupid. They're too irresponsible. They screw everything up when they choose their partners. That's obvious. But letting men do it, letting just male members of the Goy cattle pick and choose at will, it's probably not wise either. Their judgment isn't sound enough. White women require land to feel comfortable having children. I would argue that that's a real psychological component to giving birth. You're to developing the offspring and then giving birth. It's going to help the woman in question a lot if she's grounded in some place where she feels relatively safe and she's around people of her own tribe, her own species. That's only going to help in the process of reproduction. It is a big deal. It matters a lot. It needs to be taken into account. It's obviously not great for a woman to become pregnant and spend the next 9 months traveling across the fucking Sahara on a goddamn camel, dodging fire from. Um, um, I almost dropped a slur again. I just caught myself. But you see what I'm getting at, like the stressful environment, the constant traveling. It's going to take a toll on her physically. It's suboptimal development for the offspring. totally Foy day. Oh, getting rid of them, since so many are extremely dysgenic and they're intransigent, and they're just, they're defiled. Surely it makes sense to get rid of them. Women that are physically desirable, they have the right kind of phenotype, they're relatively healthy, they come from a promising bloodline. I would not want to get rid of them, even if they have tattoos and have used drugs. I would not get rid of them because it's just too much of an asset. I don't care if that sounds like simping. Like that's just me being practical about preservation. Because if a really attractive 21-year-old, Nordic-looking Stacy who had sex with some nuns and she's got some tattoos and she smokes weed, like I understand that she's trashy. However, she can still reproduce. It could still be viable, probably. It'd be a waste to get rid of her, but it wouldn't be a waste to get rid of Rosie O'Donnell because she's functionally irrelevant. Doesn't matter anymore. It's really just it's a meritocratic matter. Like what is the genetic value of the Floyd in question? How white is she? How old is she? Reproduction only allowed with the states, but yeah, that's critical. There's no way to compromise on it. The state's permission, um, yeah, someone above, uh, someone within government or someone that can operate as a government like entity, uh, sanctioning the reproduction is not just the rational ethical thing to do. That's what whites used to do, more or less. You had both families, the parents of both parties. You had, clergymen. You had the opinions and the influence and the pushback of all these other people. If something was inappropriate, people sure as fucking hell said that it was, and they said, if you go forward with this, you'll be convicted and you'll be in all kinds of trouble. So don't even think about it. Glib morons are going to say that this is mean and tyrannical, but that's just short-sighted. This is actually a practice of ethics. It's a practice of eugenics, ultimately, depending on the reasons and the standards for preventing certain couples from forming and sanctioning other couples and saying that they should reproduce. There's nuance to that, of course, but the thought is very ethical. Being concerned about what your son or daughter is doing with the opposite sex. Uh, I feel like that if you aren't thinking about those things, then you are a terrible parent. You shouldn't have had a kid. If you're not concerned with the most basic things relating to your offspring, then you're an irresponsible parent. I'm not saying you can mind control your offspring, but I'm saying even just uh, having the concern is that's a world of difference compared to what my dad did, which was show no concern, virtually none. But really, though, I'm gonna have to get a new computer. I'm gonna have to get a real computer, a real fucking computer, not an Apple. I might go window shopping right now. Make a list of models that look promising. Cramped living spaces like apartments are a form of birth control. That's a hot take. A lot of people aren't going to understand what you're saying, but you're actually right because um, this has been on my radar for years. It's a great talking point actually. It's very underrated, but people aren't going to understand it. When you say cramped living spaces are a form of birth control, it's not going to make any sense to them. But I understand completely what you mean. There's a psychological impact that comes from the geometry, the architecture, the liminal spacing of modern shitty apartments, and how that affects things like your hormones, your mood. Um, that's also that will lead to impacting sperm counts, the ability to reproduce well. Pretty sure that there is an observable correlation between foids who live in really, really poor, cramped, suffocating living spaces. Like the correlation between that group and miscarriages, I'm gonna die on that hill. I will bet I will bet anything if we had the money and we had the means to do such an invasive study, it could be proven. So I am with you there, English. In my opinion, you're correct about that. Like where you live is a big deal. What you're looking at is a big deal. Um, the paint, the carpet, what things are made out of, everything off gases, into the environment. It's not like most people have their windows open and are funneling out all of the building materials that are off gassing. They're not doing that. So they're breathing them in. They're getting them on their skin. Paints, carpets, the cheaper materials used to build, put together kitchens and flooring. I mean, they're using polyester and polyester-esque materials. I mean, all of these things you touch. You touch and you breathe the off gassing. And that is going to take a toll on reproductive systems. All this stuff matters. Yeah, urbanism in its current iteration in America is a fertility shredder. Urbanism, some decades ago in some parts of this country, really wasn't a fertility shredder. Like there was a point where urbanism was awesome. Like it struck a nice balance. Perhaps the zenith of urbanism, um, maybe that occurred. I don't know. You could argue that it happened at some point during the Renaissance in Europe. You could also say that it happened in Germany in the 1930s. You could even argue that it happened in America, not too long after World War II. Certain cities and suburbs were peak. They were splendid in just about every facet. A procession of cartoon characters park. Yeah, that's what happens when I go to there's a nice cafe that's up the road from me. You know, when I go there and I want to chill and I want to work on the computer, if I fucking had one, if it was still working, um, that's what I see, like clockwork. Like it's predictable. I mean, we're not even dealing with a hypothesis at this point. Like we're talking about real things. You can replicate the outcome. You can predict the outcome 8 or 9 times out of 10. I need to get myself more of that cream that I talked about earlier. It was a bit sour, but the berries in it, the wild berries in it, that oh my god, that was perfect. It was the best. That was the best kefir I've ever had, easily. Mick Mars was in the chat earlier. Now he's gone. That's at all these people. At all these people showing up out of nowhere off of this, for this throwaway bullshit stream. This wasn't even supposed to be public. It's supposed to be a private uh, troubleshoot. It's ridiculous. Um, Middle-aged, jacked, tan white guy with a flowing blonde mane driving this big green truck. Small little Volkswagen, a guy dressed as tan wool jacket and a gas. The fuck? See, this is more goofy and topsy turvy than what I see here. What I see here, it's mainly it's a lot of these Latinx bowling ball types, and when I see whites, it's like these feeble boomer men and feeble Gen Xer men. And when I see white Floyds, like it's like a lot of these post-wall roasties who are still trying to look hot, with the makeup and the skin grafting, the lifting on the cheeks and the forehead, the makeup, the fake hair, the extensions, the fake tan. It's very ostentatious what so many of these Floyds do, who are well past their prime. Do they not realize that they would still get male attention even without the makeup and without the procedures? Is that fact lost on them, or do they just not care? Is it purely vanity and they just want to look good? If that's what they're doing, then I understand that completely. Because in a way, I myself try to look good within reason. I don't want to be fat, but I also don't want to use makeup. I don't want to get surgery. I don't want to do any of that. Don't have an interest. I'm fairly accepting of the way I look. Fuck, I'll probably pack this up soon. I've been uh, I've been working on other stuff in the background and sort of surfing the web in the meantime as I've been talking. Dystopia, as well as it has its Twin Peakish elements. You mentioned Twin Peaks. I haven't watched Twin Peaks in a minute. I watched that in 2019, I believe. I watched the movie. I watched, I watched all of it. Yeah, a lot of interactions with people, or watching people just go about, whatever it is they're doing, or interacting with other people. Like, yeah, it's like a lot of times it does feel like a scene out of Twin Peaks. I'm of the opinion that lots of these people that I see are not real people. Um, some may be actual robots. Some may be curated in a lab, and they're humanoid creatures. They don't have a soul. They don't go somewhere after they die physically. Like, their physical vessel is all they have. See, this is the schizo stuff that pushes people away. But Western Decline would probably agree with me there. This idea that when you're out in public, many of these people that you walk past, many of the people that are even in customer service, the bus drivers, some of the police officers, are not real people. They are, in fact, uh, designed to look and walk like actual humans. They have a voice that is reminiscent of the human voice, but there's an element to their, something about them that like your senses are telling you that it's artificial. It's kind of like a puppet, like a really convincing puppet. Like, let's say you saw one and it looked like a real person, and you had a really talented ventriloquist working the puppet. You're eventually going to realize that something's off, and you're not talking to a proper human. Your family lately has been trying to hang out with you, and I keep pushing it off. Well, that's good. I'd do the same thing if I were you. They can't comprehend that I have more in common with a 19-year-old Congolese kid in Paris. Yeah, they can't. There's no way that they can understand that. It's the same way that women they can't really understand what men experience and what men live with. The only way women can really understand that is if they can convincingly present as a man, and then they will learn their lesson. And there's very few women who have done that. And the women who have done that, what they report back with is very, very ugly. They do not have flattering things to say about their experience when they convincingly present it as a man. Your family not your family not understanding the you having the disaffection and pushing off doing stuff with them is yeah, that's a hopeless endeavor. There's no point in explaining anything to anyone. You don't really owe them an explanation. I don't owe my family any explanation for anything. It's none of their business, and they don't really care about me anyway. Oh, great. Speaking of voids, there's apparently one in this live chat. Cannot be confirmed. I don't know if that may not be a void. That could be a guy LARPing, for all we know. Well, family loyalty would be a big deal. Um, it'd be something that you don't flake on if your family If your family had raised you properly and they gave you the right kind of positive reinforcement, then naturally you would in turn uh, love your family back. Like it's a feedback loop, you know. But if that's not there, if they raise you poorly, if they're not invested in you, you know, if they're very callous, then fuck family. Family goes out the window. You don't have to leave, by the way. However you say your name, you're a person from Wolf's corner. I don't really care who is in the live chat. Anyone can be in the live chat. Let's see. Um, I need to make some people. I need to do some maintenance with the people here. Gonna make the right people mod. I don't think I'll be streaming much at all on this channel. I don't have much reason to. Like this stream right here, this is just turned into a an ad hoc shit post. It's pretty worthless. I'm not doing or saying anything substantial. You guys agree with everything I say, and I agree with everything you say. I mean, damn, that's convenient, isn't it? Jesus, let's hang out. Oh shit, it worked. Okay, yeah, all right. So you are a mod. You and Jackknife and Sig Nielsen, the Holy Trinity. You guys are mods. I had some other familiar faces in here, like Scrib and Nick Mars, Hudson. Oh, it's 3 o'clock. Well, I actually do. I do have to leave. I do have to go somewhere before they close. Um, yeah, whatever. I'm packing this up. Goodbye, everyone. This turned into something that I wasn't expecting. All right. Wish me luck on my my live streaming woes with this fucking Mac. But goodbye, everybody. I'm hanging it up. Good luck with whatever it is you're doing. Living under a bridge, wage maxing, golfing, whatever it is you're doing. All right, I'm hanging this up. Adios.